major. At the time, the banking industry was kind of on the low. And so my high school teacher thought enough of me to give me an opportunity to kind of be a permanent sub. And then one of the teachers in the AP chemistry class, she went out on maternity leave. So she said, "Hey, Edwin, you're a smart guy. Want to teach AP chemistry?" Sure, Miss Barnes. So I did that. And then the next year, yeah, I did. It went well. I still remember most of the stuff actually, so it wasn't too taxing. And then the following year, I was at Palm Beach Lakes. Another teacher went out on maternity leave in what we call ESOL program. So I taught Algebra 1 to a lot of our Creole and Spanish speakers. And that actually kind of helped me learn how to poly a little Creole, and I'm practicing now to become more fluent there. And I took Spanish through middle school to high school, so it was fun to kind of talk to certain children who were maybe a little shy or maybe not as fluent in English as best I could. But I really do esteem the education field and the teacher field as well, so I want to make sure that we do all we can to not just attract teachers, but make them want to stay, make them feel like this is a culture where I can be edified, elevated, and uplifted, as opposed to, some people feel like it's taxing. Matt, Yolanda, what's your last name?
Gregory.
Ms. Gregory would know better than me in that regard, and congratulations, by the way. I didn't realize you were coming here, so that's pretty cool. Last but not least, I'm an entrepreneur. I think that is one of the surefire ways that we can help stabilize our community from an employment situation and also from a crime situation. I see a correlation between people who are undereducated and making poor decisions that result in criminal activity. And criminal activity helps to stabilize our community. It helps to depreciate or suppress our property values, which for most of us, our home, or you know what I'm saying, that's pretty much your largest equity investment. So I think we need to do a good job of kind of equipping people to provide for themselves. And that's why I think entrepreneurism is the best way to go. I actually, once I graduated from law school, came home with less than $1,000 in my pocket, and I opened a law office up 18 years ago. And I actually haven't missed that many meals, which is why I'm cutting back on the ice cream now. And so I've been really big about going through my District 7 schools, saying the E word, not Edwin, but entrepreneurism, encouraging children to consider the possibility of one day being the one that signs the check versus receiving the check. Obviously, we need both, but I'd like to see particularly more people in District 7 who aspire to be whatever in that regard. Things that I've worked on in these first 7 months, the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that I went out and visited all of the District 7 schools, because I try to speak with as many people as possible, because I know that collectively we all know more than I do in my own little head here. And so it had been impressed upon me that our representative didn't necessarily make it a point to get around to many of the schools in District 7. So there had been years that principals had represented to me that they had not seen a board member. I just didn't think that was good. I think it's good to see a board member or representative from Forest Hill, they call it the Taj Mahal, just to let them know, hey, I know that you're here, I recognize you're here, I appreciate what you do. But I always try to go a step farther than that and say, hey, tell me some things that you're in need of. Tell me some things that you'd like to receive more of. To a person, every principal that I spoke with, and I spoke to all 34 within the first 30 days. So I was kind of like in a little bit of a whirlwind tour there. They all are saying that they could use more resources. I'm sure Lake Worth Middle in one form or another could use more resources as well. So to that point, my summer project, so I don't have the summer slide, is I'm engaged with a person in the private business sector, asking them to support my district schools that are in their local area. So for example, I have somebody already who's pledged to make a sizable donation to the schools in Lantana and Lake Worth. He doesn't want me to publicize it, but he said, hey, you tell me where to send the checks, and I'm good for it. So I'm doing that because I think that'll be a surefire way to help with things like field trips, because a lot of children in my districts really don't get outside of their neighborhoods. Aside from being transported on the bus to school, they really don't go past their stop signs, which is the darndest thing to me in Riviera Beach, for example. I'm extremely sympathetic to Riviera because that's where my law office is, so I've been there for a pretty substantial amount of my adult career. There are children at Riviera Beach who've never been to the beach, and it's pretty much in walking distance, to be honest with you. It's 3-4 miles for most of us, but they've never been there. That's a problem for me. So obviously they also have not been to the Science Museum, the Art Museum, and all these types of things. So my project this summer is to try to raise at least $5,000 per 34 or 33 schools. High Ridge doesn't really need assistance. That's another conversation. But 33 schools, my goal is to try to match them up with donors, private business owners who can donate upwards of $5,000 per school. I think that'll be a good look, and hopefully it kind of nudges the other 6 board members to get out there and do that as well, because I think that's something that we can do. We don't necessarily.
32 schools.
I have the most schools of all the districts by number, and that's cool. I can handle it. But I don't think
As your first year
it's
school board member.
pretty easy, actually. But I think it's important that we stay in our lane. I'm not the teacher. I'm not the principal or AP.
Right.
They've put the 10,000 hours or more in to be good at what they do. My job is to help facilitate a very positive learning environment for our students, a very safe environment for all persons on the campus, from students, administrators, janitors, cafeteria workers, what have you. That's my space. I look at myself kind of as an oversized cheerleader. So, for example, when you said the numbers about Lake Worth Middle, I generally don't lead out like that because there's a perception that all the schools are bad. So I tend to focus on what's going good at the schools and try to focus on how we build on that. Because I think that if we focus more on what we're doing well in time, the entire school will actually be working in a positive scenario. So it's just how I perceive things. I try to stay away from criticism, even as a business owner. Sometimes it's challenging, but even if somebody were working for me, I try to come from the positive stage. It is challenging, but it's not so challenging as a board member because I feel like, hey, I'm just a cheerleader anyway. So we're losing 50-0, and I'm like, okay, team, let's go. Let's get a first down or get a field goal. We'll lose 50-3. But that's kind of where I am, and it's yielding results. So again, what have I worked on? Early childhood education. I've been doing town halls for the past 4 months, and my next town hall is going to be later this month, and it's working in collaboration with the Early Learning Coalition and also the Bridges. This particular branch of the Bridges is called Bridges of Riviera Beach. What we're trying to do is encourage families who have 3- and 4-year-old students to sign up for VPK, because that is a surefire way to help increase the likelihood that the child is kindergarten ready. Because children who start ahead tend to stay ahead. Those who start behind tend to stay behind. Matt, would you mind passing me the young lady in the back? So if you're interested in stopping by, we have 4 different sites: Riviera Beach, Palm Springs, which would be the closest one to you, I think, Plamosa and Delray, and then Roosevelt Elementary and West Palm Beach. Oh, you need one as well? I'm sorry. Thank you. And one for the birthday lady. Yeah. So this is what I'm big on, kind of getting out and apprising the community of information, because again, talking to different factions in the district and also inside the school district and just inside the community at large, there's been a disconnect for quite some time in terms of dissemination of information. So I think that's something that's a low-hanging fruit that I can work on. So I try to just get the information out there because I think we have a more engaged community that will also help to strengthen the quality of our schools and just the overall culture in that regard. School safety is also something that I was talking about from day one. Had a few board members who, frankly, surprised me in not agreeing with me in terms of the immediate need for metal detection devices at all schools and all district facilities. And then, like the next day, we had this big blow up out in high school. It wasn't a true blow up, but there was an issue where a teacher who had been out, he had some mental health issues. He came his first day back to school. He has a loaded gun and a knife. You know what I'm saying? This is why we need to have metal detection devices. And he disclosed it by dumb luck or maybe because he's mentally ill. You know, I don't want to get into it was dumb luck. He could have easily just kind of slid on through and, hey, Mr. So-and-so, and then he's on campus with a loaded gun and a knife, and now we're talking about something totally different. So the need is there. And so I believe that we owe it to all our staff members, parents, students, because the students are our most precious asset. So what are we doing here? We got to make sure we protect our children. So that's something that we're going to. I don't think I'm incorrect here. In no small part due to me kind of agitating the superintendent from day one. I said this is something that we need. We're going to pilot a school safety and metal detection program. It was supposed to already be completed 4 or 9 weeks of this school year, but supposedly the manufacturer had some sort of delays in getting the detection devices here, so it's been delayed. So we're going to start with this pilot program first 9 weeks of next year, and then assuming there are no major quirks, we'll kind of roll it out on a larger scale to all high schools, and then the plan is middle schools and ultimately elementary schools. So that's something that I've been advocating for sure. I make a point to stay engaged with the CTA and teachers. I just generally like teachers. I mean, I was a teacher myself. I still feel like I'm a teacher in some ways. Maybe that's why I'm always trying to do these town halls, trying to get the information out there, to all persons. So definitely advocating for continued higher wages more wraparound services. I've spoken with many teachers who say, hey, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Like I'm so focused on getting through this particular lesson plan, but I'm not really understanding other aspects of teaching. Without getting into specifics, I just think that we as a district and the CTA need to make sure that we're collaborating more intentionally to make sure that every teacher has what they need to be exceptional as far as that goes. And I think if they feel affirmed in that way, they're more likely to stay around. Because we have a shortfall, in case you all didn't know, we don't have enough teachers to fill all our spots right now. So that's not so good for the education process. And then entrepreneurism, I've been connecting mentors, business owners with respective schools to try to establish a presence on a given school in District 7. And my district, probably District 7 and District 6, which covers the Glades, probably has the largest disconnect between the private sector's interest in the schools. Ms. Barbier's district is more affluent. It's easy for them to stroke a $30,000 check for Boca High and send the kids wherever they see the value there. Or pretty much most of the other districts, even Ms. Whitfield's district, I think, is a little more affluent than mine. I think that was kind of negative in some regards, but my point was I'm building on what we do have and trying to establish greater relationships with the private sector in our schools, because I just think it's good business. These town halls are going to be a pretty routine thing for me. I believe we're going to try to squeeze one in July in Boynton, based on the request of the community to have another dual language program. There's a pretty substantial Haitian Creole community in Boynton, and they'd like to see a dual language program in Boynton. We have one in Del Rey, but they feel like, hey, we need to get one in Boynton. So I'm already speaking with some of the principals to see who will get behind it, because it's very important when you bring these type of programs to the school that the principal supports it, because they frankly are the day-to-day cheerleader. They're the king, the queen, if you will, the head honcho at the campus. So if they're not pushing the program, it's probably not going to have as great a likelihood to succeed, at least as it's been explained to me by certain principals that they do this. So I'm relying on staff in that regard, and it's employees. They've been doing this for so long, so they tell me this is the way it is. I kind of operate on that assumption. What else? I've been pretty busy. I try to kind of condense that into 5 or 10 minutes. I hope you didn't feel that I was rambling. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them before I head home. And I'm married and I have 2 kids, 7 and 5. So my daughter, she's I call her the honcho. Her name is Abby. So I'm sure she wants me to say goodnight to her before she goes to bed. So.
When you say dual language, are we talking Spanish English or
So
German
we have a number of
English,
Spanish,
or?
yeah. So we have a number of Spanish English dual language programs in the county. We have, I believe, 1, maybe 2 of the most Creole English. So the Boynton neighborhoods or Boynton residents have been becoming much more vocal in terms of their desire to see one in their local area. So I'm trying to facilitate that now.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to facilitate that now.
Because my
This
understanding,
neighborhood could
they're
use
already
that too,
doing
actually.
that.
I agree.
Mr. Ferguson, one thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that we would also include Lake Worth Middle School as part of your entrepreneurship programs to connect with the entrepreneurs, and also
Wait a
pressure
minute.
other school board members to
Wait.
also include help with.
That's Ms. Whitfield, and if you've been watching the board meetings, I don't
You
really
know,
wanna-
but I know you want to be cool. I just want to say, like, I know your influence is good.
I'm hoping that
So-
that I do a good job of
And talk to
of
Ms.
this.
Whitfield.
No, I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you've been watching board meetings, you probably know where I'm
Yeah.
going with that. I probably prefer to leave that alone. But
Yeah.
hopefully they feel encouraged to do it based on what he's doing. Maybe I can't do it to that level, or maybe I can do it better, but let me do something. Because I think that's the least we can do. Most of us raise a pretty good amount of money when we campaign. Like I raised almost 180 grand, which is a lot of money for a school board raise. And so my thought was, if I can get this amount of buy-in for me just running as a for elected office, can I do that or maybe more when it's about the kids and the betterment of the kids? So that's where my head is. I always like to think about our kids
You
and
have a very
the
good point
groupers are.
there.
Yeah. So that's why I'm doing it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. But I appreciate that though. But hopefully, maybe you should talk to Erica, because I'm not speaking to her about that.
Oh, I talked to her.
Okay. I'm gonna let you run point on that. Yes.
I go to City Hall all the time, and I see all of these schools coming in, and they give their reports, and it's all fluff pieces. We do this, we do that, and we're talking, young kids, and then they get into high school and they all flunk out.
So they don't all flunk out, but think that through. If I'm trying to get you to come over and engage with me at at South Grade Elementary or whatever, am I going to tell you that, you know, the roof is falling in, the kids are stabbing each other, the teachers are fighting with one another? We wouldn't. So it's natural for them to tell you the positive things that are going on. But once you get there, if you see where there's a need, I mean, stay engaged. It's not easy for sure. But we need concerned citizens like you. So I heard you speaking about your commitment to art. You're an artist. There's a school in this area that you could involve yourself with as a volunteer or whatever the case may be. And even that so-called little bit will go miles toward helping enhance the culture of not just that school, but education at large and Lake Worth. So I would encourage you to remain encouraged, be more engaged, and do what your heart sounds like your heart is motivating you to do.
The problem I see is what I was trying to explain to you. Within a one block area, same age children, all Hispanic, they go to 3 different schools. I mean, how does that happen?
It's probably zoning.
No, we're talking within a block.
I don't know.
These 2 kids, one lives in the front, one lives in the back. One goes to North Grade. What the hell is she doing there?
Maybe she's in a choice program.
Yeah, I was gonna say choice program.
Well, the thing is, I don't think so, because when COVID happened, I walked her to get a computer.
Uh-huh.
That was one hell of a walk. I mean, for me, I'm like up there,
I understand.
okay? So I'm thinking, nobody speaks English in that family.
Perhaps you go to the PTAs or SAC meetings of those schools and kind of air your grievances and see if somebody can give
What
you
is
something.
a choice program?
I think you need
I
to
don't
clean
think a lot
up
of
the
people know.
situation
So a
seriously.
choice program would be, for example, Lake Worth High School has a culinary program. So I live in West Palm Beach. I'm not zoned to go to Lake Worth High School. But if I were an 8th grader at Bear Lakes Middle, or Bear Lakes Middle actually wasn't my school, and I knew about culinary school at Lake Worth, I could apply for admission into Lake Worth High School's choice program. And they would help, teach me how to be a great chef. We have engineering programs.
And I can attest they are great chefs over there.
Yeah, I've heard. I'm gonna when I
have
come there,
tasted.
I'm definitely gonna be making sure I bring my appetite. So we have a number of choice programs throughout the county. If you all ever are interested in learning more about those choice programs without trying to figure it out on the website, contact Dr. Geraldine Johnson's office. Geraldine is Jeraline Johnson, JOHNSON. Her staff is really good about getting concerned citizens up to speed on where what choice programs are, where they are stationed throughout the county, when an interested family would need to apply for possible admission into the choice programs. So we have a lot of great choice programs.
Didn't North Grade at one point have a dual language?
It may have, but I don't know the answer for sure. Do you?
It
does
did at one point,
They
because
do.
my nephew, who would have gone to
Mhm.
Highland,
We're K-8 and
this was what,
like we're K-6
Yeah,
and
this
the
was
6.
See, North Grade's not in my area. I have
Right,
South
I
Grade
know.
and Barton, so that's all I can do to figure out those 34 right now.
that's all right.
Yeah.
I-
I'm trying my
and I
best.
appreciate you coming to
Yeah.
the city commission and making a presentation
Yes.
and introducing yourself.
Mhm.
That was very nice.
Thanks for having me. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, transportation. So I went to a SAC meeting by accident
Which one?
because I care.
Which one?
And
Which school?
these kids are now supposed to go to summer school, but there's no transportation for them.
Which school?
Well, they're in my neighborhood, but they're trying to go, some of them are in middle school already. How are they gonna get there?
So where's the summer school up here? Is it Lake Worth Middle or
Like
another
middle, we only have credit
cover?
recovery courses. We don't have actual summer school. Summer schools are usually held at the high school, which I think is John Leonard this year.
Well, see, the parents don't know, so I'm the one that's sort of translating, and I don't speak Spanish, and it gets mixed up.
And so
Go ahead, please.
sometimes it's not that transportation isn't available, it's just that they don't know how to access the information. So it's
Okay.
for summer school, especially if they're going to for students, English language learners, for students with disabilities, they are priority for summer school. And
Well,
there's
because
transportation
of
for
her,
those students.
we got 3 of the kids into a swim program, and then we didn't know where to go.
So
It was all
that
out of the
might be
area.
something that I can work on in terms of doing a town hall in the upcoming months with somebody from our multicultural program who's fluent in Spanish to maybe come to one of the community centers where there's a high population of Spanish speakers, and maybe he or she can kind of share some of the information that would be a benefit to those parents in later months when they're trying to find out where credit recovery is, or if their child really can qualify, or is one who can go to summer school. Because it is different than when I was in school many years ago. We don't really have much.
So Matt, your question is the last question, and then
Okay.
Dr. Gregory is going to do an update. She's the assistant principal for Lakewood
So
Middle.
I was just curious, kind of piggybacking on what she was saying. Has the district considered doing free bus fare for all students?
I've not heard free bus fare aside from when you're talking about students that are going to maybe Bach, not necessarily Bach, but Dreyfus High School and Suncoast High School. I know a lot of students ride the Tri-Rail, and then there's a bus
I
that
figure we
transports
might as
them.
well do the
Yeah.
city buses too. As well as try to.
Joe Sanchez will be the point person to speak with about that.
Joe Sanchez.
Joe Sanchez, yeah. He oversees that aspect in terms of buses. and
Email
whatnot.
him.
See what can be gathered from that.
Yeah, because
That's weird. Oh, here it is.
these two girls should be friends, and instead they can't help each other with homework because it's different. And so I do care because during COVID, I had them, I was teaching them cursive, gardening, I mean, it was a full spectrum.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we've lost it all.
So what is Joe Sanchez actually in charge of?
What's Joe's title?
Joe is.
Transportation.
No,
No,
it's not.
Is it
It's not
J-O-E?
miscellaneous.
no. Joe Sanchez, Sanchess,
It's like all of the
Yes,
projects.
yes.
Sanchez with a
Sanchez.
Z,
not with the Z,
I
but
just
with
brought that back.
yeah, a few years ago. Let's see, Mr. Sanchez. Come on.
C-H-E-Z.
No,
It's
S.
It's not
S as
even
in
if we
Sam.
expect it to be a Z. It's actually
Sanchez.
With an S at the end.
S-A-N-T,
S-A-N-C-H-E-S.
S-A-N-C-H-E-S.
C-H-E-S.
Okay, so how did I
Another
do
way to
spelling it?
spell
That's his name,
Okay.
Joseph Sanchez.
I'll just put it on the camera.
Let's see if I can find an email from Mr. Sanchez.
There you are. That was easy.
So, Joe's title is, okay, COO,
C-O-O.
Chief Operating Officer. Yeah. Operations Division. Yep.
All right, so Dr. Gregory is next.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let's get home to his car.
Yeah.
His first name, last name at palmbeachschool.org.
It might be easiest for you to go out that way.
Okay, no problem.
Well, how much time do you devote to the school? I mean, you have an office. Do you say an hour or only on weekends? How do
Definitely
you-
not on weekends, because nobody's at the schools on the weekends. It's,
No, I know.
it's a
It's
fair
in the
amount.
Okay.
Yeah, they get their money's worth out of me, I'll say that. I'll definitely say that. It's definitely not a part-time job.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
But I enjoy it though. That's the biggest part about it. Thanks for
Thank you,
inviting me
Mr.
out.
Ferguson.
Good to see y'all
You
soon.
might want to see it on YouTube later.
I'll see you on YouTube. Oh, great.
Good to see you.
Like,
I'm gonna have any
Put
questions.
on her- I don't want to be on camera.
So this is
You can,
Dr.
I think
Gregory.
you can stay there. I can
She's
just turn it a
the-
little bit.
Are you still the assistant principal of Lakewood Middle, or did that change?
It hasn't yet.
What will it be in the future?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they'll let me know.
Okay.
But good evening to everyone. Thank you, Ms. Sylvia, for inviting me to talk about Lakewood Middle School and the projects that I have started. With one, I spoke to Sylvia about a PTA for one, so she's helping me with that as well. But for the campus beautification is the one thing that I'm working on, and as you heard Mr. Ferguson talk about teachers shortages, teachers. You mentioned it in your notes about the turnover for teachers. So I'm trying to just change the look of the campus so the students will want to come to school, so it doesn't have such a cold, like a prison feel is that's the best way I can describe it. So just to make it a little bit more vibrant. And the front, we're trying to change that so it's more captivating, so it's breathtaking with the students coming like, wow, this is my school, so they can take ownership of it. And as well as bringing more culture into the school. We have 28 different countries that attend Lakewood Middle School, so we're trying to bring in that culture so they can take ownership and feel like, oh, we do care. And I do have projects in place like painting the classrooms, laying sod. The problem with we have a lot of trees there, and because of the concrete for the sidewalks and walkways, the roots can't grow and connect like they normally would underground, so they're pushed up above the ground. So we have a lot of roots above the ground. So it's kind of difficult to lay sod and things like that. So we're trying to come up with another plan for that as well. But for the front, right around the flagpole, we want to lay more sod there. So put more greenery and flowers, and just to make it nice for the students. I will be hanging a lot of the different flags. So we're going to be purchasing those. I've actually, what I need with assistance with would be great if someone could point me to the right direction. Is someone who burns tile. So coming in, the entrance, it will say welcome in the different languages, and we can put them on the walls because everything is brick. We call it that Georgia brick. So it's not like you can just do a complete makeover because it's brick. And I've already had the art teacher. She's painted different. We bought the concrete boards, and she's painted the different countries of all the 28 countries. So we're going to have someone to come and post those or hang those.
Countries does your school represent?
28.
I have something you might be interested in,
Okay.
and I would donate it. I paid over a lot for it. When the Dalai Lama came, I had a gallery in Coconut Grove. I have a peace pole.
Okay.
28 languages. Let me know when you want to do that front and do a ceremony around it and get those kids involved.
Okay.
I will donate that.
But yeah, I appreciate that. But that's pretty much it. Just trying to change the culture and the climate of the school. So the teachers would want to come. We have a lot of working a Title I school is hard work in the first place, and we're trying to create an environment where they want to be there. That's more welcoming. That they enjoy being there and don't find it to be robbery of their time all the time, where I'm just being sucked dry kind of deal. But we are creating a wellness room for them to just come and just wind down, where they have coffee and change the lighting just to relax a moment, and where they can just talk with each other, just to wind down during their planning or just throughout the day as they need it. Coffee breaks, any type of donations for that, incentives for teachers, incentives for students, because a lot of our students, they don't like to come to school, and we find we have over 60 or 70%, I can't remember the number, 62% that have 5 days or more absences. So that can go up to 15, 20. I have kids who miss, class periods of 100. So we only in school 180 days. So you call them, the parents say, well, they don't want to come to school. They don't like school for whatever reason. But a lot of it is things that I think the parents can control too. But for example, one story was, he wants to play on the game all night. Okay, well, that's a parental thing. You got to get him off the game. He has to come to school. So, but parents leave so early. And, they think the children are in school, the children block the parents' numbers, so they don't get the call outs from us. So it's a constant call. It's a lot of work on the human manpower just to contact the parents all the time to let them know if we can get them. If we not, then we have to call from our cell phones because their numbers are blocked. So it's a lot. And just trying to change that whole perception that school is a fun place. There are a lot of things we want to do. We want to do wellness, have like a wellness day for the parents to come and learn about different things, a career day, so the students can get excited. I've partnered with Palm Beach State on trying to bring in cyber security on the campus, starting and partner with a high school so they can feed right into that program. Things that they are interested in using technology, they love it. I had a STEAM night, which was very successful. Had about 200 parents that came up to that, so I want to turn this into a big thing for like an annual event that everybody's looking forward to come every year. So each year, just want to add something to make it bigger and bigger, so the kids can see the fun. Adding incentives for not having tardies, no referrals, getting to class on time, no out of school suspensions, no in school suspensions for the students. So, and it requires funding, so we can only fundraise for so much. So just trying to reach out to different businesses to partner, as he stated. It would be great if if he would add us to that list to get that $5,000 donated. It goes a long way, but it requires funding for that. So nothing we do, you know, I had a party for the kids of $1 per kid. That's like, I'm almost giving them nothing, but a lot of it I got donated from different restaurants, foods, and decorations and everything. But it's a lot of work in that respect, and we don't always want to talk about the negative. There is some positive, but sometimes the negative needs to be heard as well too. I think it's a little bit of both. We want to know that there are good things happening, that the school is not totally chaotic and just not performing, but there are some good things, but there is also need as well. And I think that's the best way that I can approach that and address that.
Anyone have any questions? Really important middle school.
I have something. So I guess there's been a big push by Todd Townsend at the City Commission meeting to have a special bridge for the students to go across I-95. And I guess I'm just curious if you have any information about the progress of that.
They wouldn't speak to me as an assistant principal about it. It would be the principal, but the principal who is actually part of that is, you know, this is my third principal in this year, so they probably don't know who to speak to at this point. So I don't have any information regarding that, but that's been a project or a discussion that's been going on for years.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the morale of your staff?
The morale of our staff, right now it's not in a good place. I have to say that, but that's because of the change, you know, too. I think they're just looking for some stability, and a lot of times, you know, with anybody, people don't like change. So, and everyone wants to go with whom they're familiar with. And this is what I know, you know. But sometimes change is good, and I tell them that all the time. Change can be great. So, you know, give anyone who sits in that seat. The one thing I love about my staff is they will submit to anyone who's sitting in that seat. So it's not like they're going to come and just intentionally try to be, you know, I don't know, contrary. Is that a good word? They won't be that. They are very submissive to whomever's in that seat. So they will work for whomever the principal is. They just need the stability at this point.
So don't you think that it would be good to raise the morale of the staff in order to raise the morale of the children?
Okay, yes ma'am. So here's my philosophy on that. We make student-centered decisions because ultimately we want to educate students. But I also believe that with teachers are important as well, because I could be absent. My whole administrative team could be absent, and the school will continue on. The principal can go and be off campus, which they are quite often, and the school will continue. We have all been off campus as administrators, and the school continues. But if I pull every teacher out of the classroom and they're absent, you have chaos. Because who's going to manage your children? Who's going to be in those classrooms with the children? So in order for the students to learn and we do need good people who genuinely love children, all children, not just certain children. We do need those type of people in front of our students, and they also need to know their content, not only know it, but be able to impart it into someone else. So that's all equally important. But we also know the value in our staff, and we talk about maintaining our staff, and the one way to do that is we have to make sure that we create a climate of support, of getting that buy-in from the teachers as well with everything that we do, and part of the decision-making process, whatever projects or whatever initiatives we want to implement, it's imperative that they are part of that process. So we just, otherwise, it's more of a dictatorship, and they feel like they have no say in, they're not part of the school. So yes, I agree. I believe that teachers are equally important because I need good people in front of children. I need happy people in front of children. I need people who enjoy children in front of children. So they need to come to work feeling like they're part of a family. So that's important to me as well. So I agree. I hope I answered.
I myself would think that currently under state administration, I'm not from Florida, but under the state administration, that's making it hard.
Yeah, it's really, the last I heard, and I haven't checked numbers lately, but you know, the state of Florida was 9,000 teachers. There's a 9,000 teacher shortage. So, no one's coming into this profession anymore like they used to. So it's not, you used to hear, oh, if this doesn't work out, I can always fall back on teaching. Well, that's not a statement anymore. I've got teachers walking out the door to be managers of warehouses because they make more money. And it's less hassle and it's less stress and the accountability is different. There's still accountability where they're going, but you know, it's different. So,
Have you thought of going to uniforms in your school?
well, we have, but going into uniforms is not that easy. It is a process because we can't just say we're going to go to uniforms. Everyone's going to wear khaki pants or navy blue shorts or whatever, and white or gray or you can't do that. It has to be voted on upon the community. So everyone has to agree. So it's a whole process, not just saying that this is what we're going to do.
Just thought that would give some leverage, you know, that everyone's equal.
There's also the cost of
Yeah,
somebody
that's
has
a
paid
cost.
for
Some
it.
people can't afford
Well, the parents will make the uniforms, but the parents will pay for clothes. So sometimes the uniforms can be a lot cheaper. We can get donations for uniforms a lot faster than we can in clothing, different clothing. So,
That's a very good point.
yeah. So either way, you know, they're gonna have to spend money on clothes, and they grow so fast, so they grow out of them just as fast as you buy them.
The backpacks. Did you guys buy the see-through backpacks?
Well, I know that Mrs. Bro, when she was sitting in the seat as principal, was working on that. I'm not quite sure.
They went through.
I'd have to check that. So everyone's kind of gone now. So.
Lake Worth Middle was planning to buy the first backpack for each kid, a see-through backpack. It would be free the first one, and then if they break it. But at least the first backpack. And they've never done that before. The previous principal.
We have a unique group, and it's a good place. You know, the teachers, so we have teachers who've been there for years who won't leave because they love it. And the teachers who have left, you know, love the school. I always say it's the best kept secret, you know, working at Lakewood Middle School, behind whatever the stigma may be. But it is a great place, and we do have a great group of teachers. We have a great group of children. The children are wonderful. They want to learn. They're kids. They're going to do things. You know, they're children. So, but they want to learn. They did very well on the last assessment from PM1. I knew the new state test to PM3. Everybody in those categories, you know, made learning gains. It was, you know, they're working. They're working. It's going to take time.
Policy on cell phones and telephones for kids.
Students can have cell phones. We don't police that, you know, as much. But you know, as far as throughout the campus, we do have the previous principal, Mr. Williams, established zones for phones. So in the morning time, before school starts, when they get there, they can have their cell phones. They're out in the courtyards. Then at lunchtime, they can have their cell phones in the cafeteria. But as they're walking through the hallways, because they only have it 4 minutes, they don't have time to be on cell phones. Phones should be put away and turned off. The only time that they can use cell phones in class is if the teacher allows them to for a project, or if they didn't bring their device and they need to look up something, but for academic reasons. in the classroom.
And that sort of changed when they went to computers during COVID, right? They all had these devices that they could attend school and do projects. Is that when it changed a little bit?
No, it didn't change. It's still the same process because sometimes there are devices that they forget to charge them, but they charge the cell phone. They can still use the cell phone in class, but it's teacher's discretion within the classroom and the four walls of that room, whether the student can use the cell phones, or it has to be for academic reasons. But the cell phones in the mornings and at lunchtime and after school, that still stands.
Thank you for coming. I was too late. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
You as well.
We need to meet again. We need to meet again for PTA.
Okay, yeah.
But I just want to say, like I said, I'm from New Jersey, and I worked in a special services school. Okay, all the kids in there were special needs, but the teachers, like in the beginning of the year, well, throughout the school year, actually, they had a competition on decorating their hallways.
Do that.
Yeah, Lakewood High did that too, actually.
And I mean, they came up with some fabulous things.
Precisely what I'm talking about.
We have, we do those competitions. They do it around the holidays, decorating the doors. They do it just in general, and the students go by and vote on the doors. So we do different things like that to build the morale of the teachers as well.
Is your email on this?
No, that's the new principal's email that's on there, Miss Cynthia Taylor. Her email is there.
Just call middle school for me.
I can give you my email.
Please. If you put it on this, so I don't lose it.
I just wanted to say, you have an incredible nurse, my grandson.
Oh yes, Nurse Penna, we love her
Yeah.
to the moon and back. She's so wonderful.
We've been trying to persuade her to go to high school next, well, he's with you for another year. He's in 8th grade next year. And he's going to high school, and we keep trying to tell her that she's got to go to high school. She says, no, she couldn't leave Lakewood Middle.
Yeah, she loves it there. We love her too.
Yeah,
We
she
treat
is
her-
just adorable.
We treat her well.
So happy that she's there. It makes his life so much better.
Yeah, all the students love her.
Thank you. I think we did need, when you were giving away all those books, I took a couple of them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Any more questions?
I'm serious about the piece. Kiwanis wanted to buy it, but he didn't want to spend that much money. And I said, I know how much it's worth. I'd rather give it to someone who would appreciate it than, half my expense.
I will speak to Ms. Taylor regarding that.
Okay, I'm serious. It's not doing anything in my house.
Awesome. Well,
And
thank
it
you.
would be a nice gathering thing for all your students.
Awesome. Sounds like it will be. Thank you. Thank you for considering that. All right, you all, I'll let you get back to your nuts and bolts of your meeting. Oh, is it? Oh.
Thank you for
Turn this
everything.
off.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you too.
Thank you, everybody on YouTube, for joining us. Have a good night.
Are you closing down the meeting?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Matthew,
Hold
are
on.
you closing the meeting?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
everybody.
Is there a city hall tomorrow? Okay, I'll see you there.
I'll be there.
Oh, you don't have to bring me that thing back.
You sure you don't want the backpack?
No, that's fine. Give it to